So happy New Year, Callum. Yeah,
Happy New Year.
2024. I don't know. What do you get up to on All Year's Night, as they say? Piping in the new year, no doubt.
It's one of the only times in the year where piping doesn't happen for me. It's
Really?
always with
Wow.
the family, chilled out. Yeah, absolutely. So always been that way. But yeah, always enjoy it.
Nice. There you go. It's a bit of a tradition in our house to watch Jules Holland. That's a very UK thing, I think.
Of
Do
course,
you ever
yeah,
sit and watch Jules? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it'd be on in the background for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There you go. It's not New Year's without Jules and a bit of rhythm and blues, but there you go. So I have to say, 2024 is going to be an exciting year for pipe banders for sure. But I have to talk about 2023 for you, Callum. What a year!
Yes,
My
yeah, yeah, it
word.
was. Uh, yeah, it's been good.
That's it. So, well, obviously, current Glenfiddich champion. I have to ask you about that moment. Then, hearing your name read out as the overall champion, how did you find that?
Um, yeah, obviously a thrill. Obviously shock. A mix of emotions, really. It just is one of those things as a young boy you always dream of, but it's not something
Mm.
you ever expect to win. So, for that moment to kind of come is taken a long time for it to settle in, of course. But it's an absolute privilege to be part of that competition, far less win it. So I'm absolutely delighted.
There you go. And it was the 50th one as well. Like, this will be one absolutely for the history books.
Absolutely.
So, if you don't mind me saying, for those of us watching at home on the live stream, when we seen the result being read out, you did seem to be in a state of shock as if to say, what, did you really read out my name?
Yeah,
But,
it
wow.
absolutely was. There's no question. I think that this was my 11th year. I think I've been at the Glenfiddich.
Mm,
And it's you play or you think you play really well some years and you maybe don't get a result that you would maybe like, or there's other years maybe you don't play so well and you get results. So it's one of those things where you just never ever know what's going to happen. And as I was kind of trying to work out after the P-Work result had come out, trying to work out in my head what the overall was, I knew it was going to be almighty close. So
yeah.
I think a mixture of that. It was just shock. It was just kind of it's taken a long time for it to really set in. But it's as I say, it's yeah. I'm still working on that for sure. I
Yeah.
will say,
It'll probably take the guts of a year for it to feel real, I guess.
of course.
But
I think being the 50th year, it was so many icons of piping being there.
mm, yeah,
You see previous champions, some of the greatest players of all time sitting in the audience and being up on the stage before the results. It
yeah.
was such a year to do it, and to be part of that list is obviously something that I'll always cherish, really.
Absolutely. And then obviously the after party is bound to be the stuff of legends. How did you find the celebrations then afterwards?
It was great. It's always a fantastic night that no matter what the result is. I think the world of solo piping is or the top of solo piping. The people that play there, they're all very friendly. We're all good friends.
Yeah.
And I think that really comes true on a night like that where everyone supports each other. We all have celebrate together. There's no bad losers. We all don't like to lose, but we definitely don't show any of that. It's very much a night with friends, really, and fellow
Yeah.
competitors. So I think that's something that we do cherish in the piping world is that there's really good people there, and we do get on well. So that night was absolutely fantastic, and I'll always remember it for sure.
Oh, there you are. So definitely one for the history book. So if anyone hasn't caught that performance, by the way, do yourself a favor and go back and watch it. Do you have many memories of being on the stage, especially for your Pembroke performance, which you topped the bill there? How did you find that run?
I was very happy with it. I do remember it.
Hmm.
It's. I think through the years, as I mentioned, I've been there a few times now. It's took me a long time to really feel comfortable in that environment.
Yeah, I was going to
I
say like
don't.
there's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
There is, of course, there is, and you
Hmm.
sometimes forget that there's people watching online. How many hundreds are in the audience at the Edinburgh
Yeah.
Castle. So I do remember the performance. I was very happy with it. I think it was everything that I tried to do with it, I done. And
Mm.
one of the big things with solo piping these days is you must have a perfect instrument in terms of it staying in tune. So that
Yeah,
was something that I was obviously wary of, and it does go through your mind. So you're trying to make sure you're managing that as you go. And I was very happy with that as well. So it was yeah, performance I was delighted with at the time. And as I say, you just never know. You just never know after that. You just got to put it behind you and get on with the next one.
that's it, and just hope for the best. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about Glenfiddich, and then we'll move on. But we have talked to some previous champions before, and we did talk to them about their preparation for the event, and they did say to help cope with the nerves and all of that, the pressure of being on that stage, that visualization was a huge help for them. Actually, pretending that they were on the stage,
Mhm.
in their practice room. So, do you employ stuff like that yourself, or do you not bother, or how do you prepare really?
Absolutely. I think that's a key thing, and I guess experience with being in these halls, you understand what the environment's like. You understand what temperature may be like, and humidity, and all that sort of thing. So for
Mm.
me, these are definitely elements of things I would work through in my practice. The visualization is such a key part of that. I do find myself even going back and listening to previous performances online
Yeah,
of years past, just to really get a feel for, or get the memory working again. And
yeah.
I do feel like that works a lot, and I would do that for all competitions really. It's not just there. I've
Hmm.
always tried to maintain the same practice regime throughout all my competitions. And
Yeah.
that tends to help. Sometimes you can get yourself too worked up, or too anxious about an event. So for me, it's just, even though it's not, you've just got to treat it as another competition in a way, and just
There
do
you
what you do
go.
best, and go through the routine.
Yeah, and that's it. It's routine. It's set in motion already. So Glenfiddich, as you say, is just another date in the calendar, really, and amongst a pile of others. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest ones, but
Of course, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely the highlight, but I think you have to forget about that to an extent, and just really treat it as, right, another competition, go through the same preparation, and if it's led you well before, then there's a good chance it'll do the same going into that. So I've always tried to maintain that kind of standard.
there you go. Well, a stellar performance. We thoroughly enjoyed it. So full congratulations from all of us here. And here,
Yeah,
thanks for the music. There's been some
yeah, that's what it's all
blistering
about.
good runs. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
That's it. So, well, we also need to ask you then. Also, your day job is piping oriented as well. So you're working with dollars. So, how have you found this past season?
Fantastic. We're always very privileged to have a great group of young people that we work with at Dollar. It seems that the program grows and grows every single year,
Yeah.
but we tend to manage that very well. We've got a great group of instructors. Same again, we're good friends. It's not just like working colleagues, and I think that really comes through. And I
Mm.
think the young ones really kind of see that too, and I think it helps them in their preparation. But for us, the pipe band at the school, all our bands really last year, they've always done us proud. And the results, especially with our juvenile band, is something that we're very proud of, and it's something we don't take lightly. That's for sure. It's been an amazing year for them, and we'll see what 2024 has in store for them.
It's an amazing system. And as you say, it seems to be growing every year. Like, I don't know what is the secret sauce? What is making it grow so much? Everyone seems to really love being part of that dollar system.
I think it's for us. I think it's the support that we receive
Mm.
from the senior management within the school. They've got a great understanding of what we're trying to do there.
Yeah.
They've seen the success that has brought. Dollar itself, the town, is very supportive. So you walk down the street to go to the shop or wherever it is, and you're guaranteed to walk into a former pupil that's been in the pipe band, or been around the band. And I think
Yeah.
that's for us, where the support has always been key to the band, and that's
Mm.
helped us really drive on to make it as good as we possibly can. And yeah, who knows when that'll or where that'll lead to. And but at the moment, we're trying hard to kind of keep raising our own standards, while
Mm.
making sure the kids really enjoy themselves first and foremost. And if they can get something out of it and they can leave there having enjoyed their time at Dollar Academy, then for us that's goal achieved.
There you go, job done. Yeah. So I have to say, at this year's World Championships, the band drew quite a crowd, and there was I don't know about 5 people deep at one stage. I was trying to get a listen, but I couldn't get through the crowd. Is that something that you folks kind of prepare the kids for? You'd have to have a bit of a word ahead of time, said, look, we're going to attract a bit of an audience here. You have to prepare for distractions, that kind of thing.
It's mentioned,
Mm,
but maybe not as much as you would think. I think
yeah,
the lead that we've always taken with them is always follow us. So whatever we do, just
yeah.
follow what we do.
Mm,
It's in terms of playing in the group, it's the same rules apply. Pay attention to what we're doing. If you follow that instruction, then we'll be okay.
yes,
And I think the moment that the heads start to turn and they start to look for people in the crowd or they get anxious about people there,
that's
that's when
it.
it leads to problems. So, of course, the juvenile band in particular have always grew or managed to get a bit attracted a bit of a crowd or
Mm,
audience around them, but they all always seem to handle it well. And I think it really comes down to, yeah, there's a warning of it, but that makes sure that we just stay in our group, we stay focused and do our job, and
yeah.
that's been fairly successful so far.
It's difficult to do, like I know myself, competing in some of the higher grades, and you do notice the crowd and you think, God, everyone's watching me, and then the nerves start. So that, yeah, it's one of those things, but that very wise words, to follow the leadership, and they do seem to cope with it really well, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely proud of them, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's been a cracking year. So I can't wait for 2024 now. See the back
I
on the grass
know.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be great. It'll be great to see where we are this year and how that leads for sure.
There you go. So I have to ask you then about the differences then between playing competitively as a soloist then to a band. Clearly, they're two very different worlds. Well, is that how you view it?
Of course, I've always had a barrier between the both,
Mm,
the two of them. I have played in, I played in grade one for many years, but for me it was always always a struggle to an extent to try and separate the both.
mm,
Band playing and solo playing are two different things altogether. They
yeah.
require different styles, different techniques to an extent, and even different sounds. The way
Mm,
the pipes are set up are completely different. So for me, it's always tried to separate both of them,
hmm.
and they're completely different skills. A good band player doesn't make a good solo player. A good solo player doesn't make a good band player. And for
Yeah.
me, that's it's obviously helps if you can play, but in terms of being a solid band player, is more than just being a good player, and that's something that is yeah is true. I think.
It's a different skill set, like really, isn't it? Because you have to kind of, as a band player, kind of be able to blend in with the ranks and make that one sound as a whole. Rather, as a soloist, you're there to stand out, I
That's
guess.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the key area. Style. Style
Mm,
is for me that the hardest thing. When you're in the solos and maybe when you're progressing up through the ranks, you begin to have your own style.
yeah.
So once you develop that, trying to then play a different style within a band environment is very challenging for most.
Yeah.
Most people would find that challenging. So, like most of these things, they're not hobbies anymore.
Yeah.
They're like put full time jobs on top of the job that we do during the day, to try and reach that standard.
Yeah. Oh, that's when it becomes very serious for sure. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So, well, I have to talk to you then about a bit of a venture. The last time we had you on, Callum, we were talking to you about your website, the Bagpipe Coach. And so, for those watching the video at home, we're just sharing the website now. So, it's the bagpipecoach.com, where you offer a whole range of different services here, Callum. So, tell us about these. What do you offer on through this website?
So the bagpipe coach, yeah, I started a few years ago now,
Mm,
and really it was just trying to help people progress in their piping. Really give them the opportunity to have someone work with them more on a not a full time basis, but to have someone on hand to help them.
mhm.
For me, a lot of instruction through the years has been built on just having someone that you see once a week. So for me was quite important to have someone that's maybe on on hand on a more regular basis. So for me,
Mhm.
that's something that I try to offer through this website.
There you go. So I was going to say, like, we're looking at the website right now, and we're seeing there's packages here for individuals, so for soloists,
Yeah.
but then there's also this package then for bands as
Yes.
well. Now, this is we have received a few questions on this about the
Uh,
band packages specifically. So we do know that you obviously can help out soloists, and you have a great track record of that. But it's the bands. How exactly does that work? Do you go to practice and help out, or I don't know?
It would be mainly, or what I've seen is mainly from foreign bands, bands that
Mm,
are maybe located in areas where there's not many people that can get there to help them,
right.
and really just to help guide them in terms of what to do in terms of pick music,
Hmm.
in terms of maybe trying to select chanters or reeds or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Things that maybe they're not that's not close to them, and it's getting good reads is can sometimes be difficult or
Mm.
whatever it may be. So just trying to really help bands in the right direction, so that they're on a path.
There you
That
go.
that's
That could be really valuable for a lot of folk, that might not ordinarily have the access to such tuition and stuff like that. So
of course.
yeah, that I don't know. That's really quite ingenious, actually. That's a great idea.
Well,
So
for me, if I can help, that's the key thing. All of this for me
mm,
it's important that we give back to an extent. It's I'm always open to people asking me questions, and it's not about income of such as well. It's all about just
yeah,
kind of being able to support and help. So I've always tried to make myself available for that,
yeah, yeah.
to make sure that people are bands or whatever maybe just what I feel is on the correct path. So that for me that's always been important.
There you go. Yeah. So you would help with things like tune selection and stuff, and then putting together a bit of a medley and all that. Do you enjoy doing that? Like kind of tinkering with tunes and transitions and stuff,
I
all
do,
that.
yeah, I do. I think I've spent a lot or a bit more time with that, obviously with my own repertoire, trying to do a bit in that. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say I'm the greatest in the world, but I love tinkering with tunes and see what I can do. If you don't experiment, then you'll never know what's going to come out of it, really. So
Yeah.
it's something that I do enjoy. I'd love to do more of. I'd love to compose tunes. It's not something that I've ever done so far, but it's hopefully sometime in the future I'll be able to have a bash at that.
There you go. So that's just fun arranging, really, coming up with harmony lines and like
Yeah.
breaks and reprises and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you kind of just like messing around with it, really, the formula.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. Even so, even we'll have some of the kids at school that enjoy doing some of that stuff. So I've got to have a rough idea what they're doing first. So it's quite enjoyable to see what they can come up and yeah, it's absolutely.
There you go. Interesting stuff. Yeah. So for any bands out there or for any soloists for that matter, then please do go and check out the website then, thebagpipecoach.com. They are. Shameless plug, but why not, Callum? That's the new year.
Absolutely.
That's
Thank
the new
you.
year. So we've got a few questions here as well, then just from soloists and stuff. And we obviously have a lot of people who would tune in from the United States, and their solo competitions would be first thing in the morning, and then they have to go and change gear and play with the band that afternoon. But a lot of questions seem to be how do you make that mental shift from playing your solos in the morning to suddenly, right, I'm now a band player that afternoon. I don't know. Have you any hints or tips for anyone trying to do that?
No. Yes. You know, it's for as I say, I think it's always just trying to mentally just see it as two different things
Mm,
altogether. Um, I've sometimes always practiced in that way. So when I played in a grade one band or played in a band,
mm,
for me the way I would always practice would have my solo practice first, and then
right.
have my band section afterwards. So I play maybe my solo stuff for 45 minutes, whatever it was. I'll do that section and then
Hmm.
jump over into the band section and have a run through that.
Yeah.
I've always kept the solo stuff first. I think really just because technically, in a solo environment, you probably need your technique to be slightly more open, slightly more clear
Right.
compared to the bands, where the bands would be a bit tighter and a bit to the point. So
Yeah.
it's I've always trying to keep it that way. So in terms of, even if you do have to compete in the morning solos and playing a band, that may be something that may be beneficial to you as well.
There you go. Yeah, because I know there's been a lot of solo players that have been saying about they have to play reels a certain way when they're doing solo work, very open finger work, and make sure you're expressing it and drawing out the note. But then whenever you're in the band, it's like you really have to point this tune.
Yeah.
It's like a complete different thing.
Yeah.
So for soloists that play their band material as part of their solo repertoire, it's difficult to make that shift, I guess. So would the
Yeah.
advice be really to have one set for your solos and then one set for your band and have two totally separate runs? Yeah.
Absolutely, I couldn't recommend that anymore.
Mm.
Really, I think that's is for me is a key thing to do. I think
Yeah.
it's too easy to get them both mixed up. And
There you
as I said
go.
before, is I've always had that barrier there. So band stuff material is always on one side and solo stuff's always on the other. So 100% agree with that.
There you are. Yeah. No, sound advice for sure. And also around tuning as well. We got tons of questions around tuning. Can you tell us what your process is? So you tick them out of the box and you hope that they work for
That's
the
That's
start.
it's.
Yeah.
You
Is
hope
that
for
the
the best.
process? Yeah.
You always hope for the best. Tuning, it's patience. I always think
Mm.
patience is a key thing. I always when I was younger and less experienced, the first thing I would do is, if I struck my pipes up and they didn't sound good, was try and fidget and mess around with them until they worked.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a few years into that process that I realized that if I was patient and left them for 10 minutes, I wouldn't have to do the 10 minutes or 15 minutes worth of messing around to try and get them
I
back to where they
see.
originally were. So
Yes.
for me, the patience is a real key thing. It's always remembering the environment as well. Remember
Mm.
where you are. Think if it's cold, if it's warm, if it's humid, those sort of environments, and then you have a rough idea of what your pipes are going to do. So really taking in the environment for me is crucial, and then
Mm.
it gives you at least a chance of getting them close. Now, never ever are they 100%, but sometimes you just got to get them as close as you can, depending on that.
There you go. Yeah. So it's experimentation, really. It's not having fear to have a go, I think. Well, with me being a beginner piper, I've been learning now for the best part of a couple of years, and I'm getting through this process now where not to be afraid to put the hand up and have a turn. And
Of
if it
course.
does go wrong, then fine, but that's part of it.
Of course, if you go one way and it doesn't sound right, you can always go the other way.
There you go.
For me, it's I always ask my question: if I'm tuning, is it better or is it worse? That's always the thing that even goes through my head now. Does that
Mm.
sound better? Does it sound worse than what it was? If it sounds worse, I go the other way. If it sounds better, I keep going or whatever, you
Yeah.
know. So it's just keep it simple, keep things simple. Don't. Sometimes watching the pros do their thing. They sometimes make it look easy,
Yeah.
where sometimes you have to kind of simplify things a little bit more as well, just to go through the process.
Mm.
But it really is, you can't really break anything unless you start messing with the reeds. So it's all worth experimenting.
There you go. And I know a lot of people would get very lost in the technology sometimes as well. It's very much a part now in the modern age. It's all about apps on your phone or the latest tuner or gizmo. The technology there, I guess, is there to help. But would you rely a lot on technology to help you with tuning?
No,
Mm.
I think I would be quite upfront on that one. I think over the years or more recently, I've learned to accept it to an
Mm.
extent, and I do see it as being a key tool for some people, especially people, same again, that live in areas where they don't have face-to-face tuition, or they don't have someone there to help them.
Yeah,
I think using the apps is really good, as long as you don't find yourself using it constantly.
I see.
For me, the
Yeah.
app should be about starting to adjust the ear, tune the ear, so the tune hears what the meter's almost hearing to an extent, and
Oh,
then over
yeah. Hmm.
start to try and move the apps away. But as I say, some of the apps are incredible now. They're very, very accurate, but I don't think there's anything that really beats the ear.
Yeah.
And it's for me, it's quite important that people are able to do that process without relying on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a key skill, you know, and these things all help us train that, I guess. Yeah,
Of
for
course.
sure.
Yeah.
Same way drummers use metronomes. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
there you go.
and they're within reason. I think that they have a place, but nothing beats the natural feel and style of your own foot or your own ears. You know,
They are. Absolutely. Yeah. Breathes a bit of life into the music, doesn't it?
of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
we've got another question here I need to ask you. But as I say, a lot of beginners, myself included, making their journey onto pipes and that from the chanter onto the set of pipes under the arm can be very daunting. Can you tell me any kind of common mistakes that you've noticed throughout the years of teaching, you know, that people making that transition from practice chanter onto pipes? Is there any common errors that you see a lot?
Um, I am not sure. I think arm pressure is obviously a key one in terms of
Hmm.
having control of your instrument. A lot of people do the blowing bit well, but they can't do the squeezing bit, and
All right.
they
Yeah.
find themselves with the technique of not being able to control their instrument. They find that reeds are always very hard, but if they use their arm, it's actually quite
Yeah.
easy or comfortable. So that's something that I think majority of time at the school we would find ourselves working on that process.
Hmm.
Um, and I think even just tune selection, it's at an early stage,
Mm-hmm.
you're always better playing something easy well rather than trying to play something hard because you are trying to go through so many different processes of blowing, the squeezing, the learning tunes, marching, all that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to simplify that process as much as you possibly can rather than making it too difficult for yourself is something I would always recommend.
That's good advice. Yeah, because we've seen it too many times. You know, pipers across the world playing really complicated hornpipes at like a pub gig and stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, no, no, just play something like nice and simple, and it'll come across so much better. Yeah, that's definitely been my experience going to gigs. You know, so just keep it simple, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can all have fun. It's you've got to experiment, I'm sure. I absolutely get that. But if you want to be good at it, want to be competent at it, for sure, taking the slower route and the easier tunes first would definitely enhance that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Callum, I'm about to let you go at this point, but I have to say thank you so much for joining us this week. I have a few more questions before I let you go. So we have, well, I say, we've talked to previous Glenfiddich champions, and we've always asked this question of them: is that do you now think that you've now reached the pinnacle of solo piping? Do you now believe that you've now finished learning, or do you always continue to learn and never stop?
I think I'm only really starting.
Mm,
It's I think I've got a lot of learning to do yet. And it is I think I think the doors open for me. So that's about a competitive environment. The doors are open, but
mm,
in terms of my own learning, it's only just starting. A competition is different from a performance, and I think it's for me it's about enhancing or progressing musically,
mm.
and having an even greater understanding of the music is where I'm hopefully going to try and develop further.
There you go. So that's always fascinating to me, you know, that we never really do finish learning at this because, you know, it's a common question. Oh, when did you learn how to pipe? So, I'm still learning. You know, I haven't stopped.
Absolutely, it honestly never does, and you always see a lot of the guys and girls who retire piping. I always find it really interesting listening to them as they say they're better players now than when they played because they've had time to go through the process and understand the music even further. So I've got a
Yeah.
long road ahead of me for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A long road to go and plenty more successes to come for sure, Callum. Yeah.
We'll see, we'll see.
Yeah. So can I ask you then, just before we let you go, then finally, obviously a lot of people would look to you for inspiration following this past season, your successes throughout the years. Who would you look to for inspiration in your own playing?
Willie McCallum's been my mentor. He's been my the guy that I've really trusted to help me with my playing. And he's absolute legend of a guy, great friend, and someone I could not really kind of have someone better to help me with that. He has been the number one in terms of that. He's the one of the greatest of all times, if not the greatest competitive piper of all time. So to have someone like that kind of uh, lead in terms of what I'm trying to do is has been an amazing opportunity for me. I
Yeah.
could really wish for better, but there's been many. The list is too long to kind of mention. Even going back to the start, Bert Smith was my first instructor. He kind of set me on the pathway towards that, and he introduced me to Willie when I think I was 15.
Hmm.
And then Tom Spears, another one that kind of really kind of showed me Pibroch, showed me technique, showed me many of the things that I do today. If it wasn't without any of these guys, I would absolutely not be anywhere here. And then I've had the pipe majors throughout the year as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's honestly so many to mention, but I think the key thing for me, and something that I've always tried to do, is take something from all of them. They all have key skills. They all have they're all amazing at what they do, and they all do it slightly different. So I've
Mhm.
always tried to take something from them all, and they've all been inspiring to kind of watch, and they've definitely helped me get to where I've got to so far.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that's such a great answer. Yeah, and such a great interview. Thank you so much for spending time to chat with us. Yeah, really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
And Happy New Year. Yeah.
Happy
So,
New Year.
yeah,
Yep.
will we see you on the grass this incoming season, do you think then? No doubt you'll be coming back to defend some of your titles as a soloist, but will you be back with a band, do you think, this year?
No, no, I don't think so. I'll be back with the school. The
Yeah.
school's enough for me. That keeps me going. The solo work these days is too much to try and
Oh,
defend. But
I'm
I'd love
sure.
it.
Yeah. It's bound to
But
be
I thoroughly
intense.
enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it. But pipe bands maybe one day, but not just now.
There you go. Well, hi. I'll hopefully see you on the grass at some point this season anyway, Colin.
Absolutely, I really
Yeah.
appreciate this. Thank you.
Not at all. Thanks for spending time. Thank you.